Hello, welcome to the workshop here on a lovely autumn day, October, coming up to Halloween. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to paint this very large greenman cast. I pulled it from the mould a few days ago. The mould is behind me, it's on the floor. I'm not going to take it up because it's very heavy. So this mould I bought, it was specially made by a guy in the UK. If anybody wants to, his contact details, send me a PM. So anyway, it has sat in the mould for about 3 days. I think 3 days is a good time to leave concrete in the mould because, especially something this large, you don't want to be pulling it out even 1 day too early or half a day too early because you're going to lose little pieces. They might chip off. It should be okay, but that's always the risk. And then your casting is ruined because you can't really stick concrete pieces back onto concrete. So anyway, he's out of the mould. He's been sitting here for a few days. I poured some water over it and stuff like that, so the concrete should have cured nicely. So I'm going to paint it. Okay. Now, so what I've done is, as you can see, I've done some of it already. So I'm just painting the concrete. And this is just ordinary water. And I'm just basically putting the water onto the concrete so that it soaks into all of the little gaps. And there isn't a lot of deep undercuts or detail in this, but there is a lot of detail. You can see all the variegations of the leaves and things like that. So basically I want to get all of it done. So it would take a lot of paint if I was to paint it thick with this acrylic, which I'm not going to do. So I'm going to water the paint down on the concrete, and then I'm going to just jab the acrylic paint all over. Now, a lady on Instagram, I showed her this, which was unpainted, and she said that she'd like to have it. She'd be interested in it unpainted, and somebody else said that they would like to use it as a fountainhead. That's actually quite interesting. Now, what you could do to make a fountainhead is you could probably drill a small hole in the lips here and put your outlet pipe through that. But I personally don't like drilling concrete. Not that I'm very good at it, but I don't like doing it because there's a very good chance that the bit of the drill could go through here and break it. I'm sure somebody can probably tell me how to do it correctly. But what I was going to do, if I have to make this to order as a fountainhead, is I'm going to put the pipe, a piece of plastic pipe, it only has to be plastic, a piece of plastic pipe in the mouth at the mould when I pour the concrete in, and see what happens that way. So that way I'm not messing around with drilling through concrete. Now obviously there's a way and a means of drilling through concrete. This is ornamental. I don't want to wreck it. I don't want to have the drill bursting through and taking off a big chunk of it. You can hear the crows in the background maybe. Days are definitely getting shorter here. What happens as well with concrete is that it takes longer to cure at lower temperatures. Now here in Ireland we really don't get cold winters. But it certainly dips down into the single figures. Concrete doesn't really, it doesn't like anything colder than about 10 degrees. So I want to get as much of this stuff poured as I can now while we have time. During the summer it was great. We could pour concrete items, and they'd be dry the next day. They'd be cured in a couple of days with the nice weather. Okay, so I'm just putting the paint down here. Plenty of water. Paint all the way there. So I mean, there's no great science to doing this, but I like to do what I like to do when I'm painting concrete. So I like to give it a good wetting. With ordinary water, and then throw the acrylic paint on top of it, and you get a better dispersal of the paint, and also you can see the detail of in this case the greenman through it easier, better. Now this acrylic paint isn't too thick, but anyway, this is the way to do it. Get into all the little spots here. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to dry brush it later with a little bit of gold. which I always like to do with my greenman. I'm going to do that particularly because he has some acorns here. There's a couple of acorns on the greenman. So the acorns are generally not green, not when they're ripe anyway, so it can be highlighted. So going on the side here, this place is an absolute mess. It's been used as a storage yard for the guy who I rented from. Stores all kinds of junk in here as well, so it's not just me who stockpiles junk. Yeah, it really doesn't take long. I'm going to put the paint over here, and I'm going to go around it just with a wet brush, make sure that all the little bits and pieces have some green in there. Okay, so that's it. So she's done. That won't take long at all to dry out. This is big and it is heavy. I hope you can see that. So it's 54 centimeters high, 45 centimeters wide. It absolutely weighs a ton. This is not going to be practical to send through the post. So in a way, by purchasing the mold this big, I've actually limited myself to either pick up or drop off. It's not going to go through the post. I'm not going to send it through the post. It'll cost a fortune, and B, it's likely to get damaged. So basically, in my greed to have an enormous, fancy, eye-catching greenman, I've limited the amount of delivery options that I have. It doesn't matter, however. I can't make very many of them anyway at this sort of size. It is very nice. So, we'll have another look. There he is. This is our very large greenman. Okay, so that's the first coat of paint. I'm going to do the back of it in black, as always. Just for the sake of a job well done. You don't have to paint the back of it, it's concrete, so nobody's going to see it, but that doesn't matter. So, as you can see, I'm covered in paint. What do I need to do? Okay, when I'm here, I'm going to paint another greenman. I did a lot of these. These used to be my large greenman. That's what I used to call them. Look at the difference in size. It's really certainly twice the size, twice the length, and the same kind of width across. Anyway, so this is my formerly known as the large greenman. He's going to get the same treatment. Just going to put the water in there. And I'm going to sit down. I have a little ledge under here. I've been experimenting with different finishes. As always, I have to experiment. We've been experimenting with different finishes for the concrete items. So this being a greenman, obviously the larger portion of it's going to be green, but if you notice the filigree around the sides, I have been painting the filigree in a gold colour, and I think, in my opinion, I think it's quite effective. But I did something with them the other day, which I'm going to show you when we finish with this. This is nearly finished, certainly the first coat. do the back green as well while I have it. Normally I paint it black, but it's only a small bit. I use the same kind of watery brush technique. So there she is, there he is, front and back. Just get the brush in there. Where the filigree is sometimes a bit of concrete. You have to go into the little spaces. Now, so that's the basic colour. Now I think that particular colour green, that particular shade of green with the concrete looks very well. It looks almost like a sort of a verdigrised copper, you know, the sort of thing that you'd see on the old buildings. That's basically the effect that I like, and I think a lot of people probably do too. So I'm going to let these two dry. I'm going to let this one dry, and generally I will paint these, I dry brush these with a gold paint, but what I've done is, by way of experimenting, this is one I did a few days ago. Now, if you look carefully, you see the colour is bronze. Now, this is actually real bronze. It's real bronze powder. What I did was, I simply painted the greenman green as usual. Oh no, I didn't paint the green at all actually, sorry. Made the greenman in concrete. Then, instead of painting them green, like I normally would, I mixed in some bronze powder with some polyurethane varnish and just painted it directly onto the concrete. And this is the effect of it. It's quite hard to see on the camera, but it basically looks like it's made completely out of bronze, which is a nice effect. Now I'm going to do a couple like this. I'm going to bring them to the market. There's a market in 2 weeks' time, which is the Dublin Alternative Market. Check it out. Dublin Alternative Market. I'm going to bring a couple of these with the bronze effect, and I'm going to see what happens. See if people are interested, if people like them, that sort of thing, because feedback is very important when you're at this stage, basically when you're just kind of starting off. So I personally like it. Now I haven't seen anywhere else, certainly not on YouTube, where anybody mixes bronze powder with a varnish, but that's what I did anyway, and it seems to have turned out okay. This is a this is a plaque. There's a lady in the garden full of very big lilies. And to be honest, I was dreading having to paint that because there's so much detail in it. I'd have had to paint each of the stems individually. I'd have had to paint her separately. I would have had to paint the background differently as well. Everything, it probably would have been 4 different colours. So taking the shortcut, what I did was I simply glazed it with 2 coats of polyurethane varnish. And I don't know if it's visible, but you can certainly see that it took the white coat, the white effect from the Herculite, and it gave it a very almost alabaster marble style effect. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to bring this to the market. I'm going to see what sort of feedback I get on it. This particular plaque just came as a rubber mould, which I had to support with sand, but it was okay. It didn't turn out too badly. So this is my favourite greenman style. I painted him last week in the green, but like the other one, I went over him with the bronze powder mixed with the varnish. Now it's quite dark in here, so you can't really see it, but there is actually quite a metallic lustre of this particular finish, which is very nice. So, like I say, I'm going to bring a few of these along and see what kind of feedback I get. I personally think it looks very good. Experimentation is the name of the game, really. And this is the last thing I'm going to show today. This is a concrete skull. So I made this using just an ordinary latex mold. There's a lot of concrete in this, it's very heavy. So what I did was I painted it black, and then again I did the same, which I mixed the bronze powder in with the varnish, and then I just painted it on over the top, so you get the luster and you get the metallic effect. Solid concrete. So I'm going to do a couple more like this as well. So there's a new technique that I think I've pioneered. And the same with our dark bride here. And it really does look like bronze. Well, I suppose technically it is. It's bronze powder painted over concrete. But I think she's very nice. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll get back on. Bye bye.